Well, the COVID-19 pandemic is changing the way so many of us do business, including the way we buy and sell our homes. This morning, we are checking in with a realtor for a look at how staging, tours, and open houses are moving from the real world to a virtual one. Back with our Ask the Expert segment today, Colleen Lyle, the broker of record and one half of the Colleen Lyle real estate team. She joins us virtually this morning. Colleen, good morning. Nice to see you.
Oh, nice to be back. It's so great to see you again, Annette.
I know you're probably fielding a lot of calls from people right now because even though in the middle of a pandemic, the real estate market is still ongoing and people want to know how they go about doing things. So let's start with the fact that people are still buying homes without even stepping foot in them these days, right?
Right. So as we were, I'm not even in the caliber of frontline workers, but real estate has been deemed as an essential service. And so what we are seeing right now is the fact that real estate surprisingly has not slowed down. If anything, it has actually sped up. And so when we were talking back in the brutal winter months of January and February, we actually haven't seen a real change. There has been a surprising impact in the fact that we haven't seen a drop in sales, but what we have seen is the fact that there is still a lack of inventory. And so when we talk about the Ottawa real estate market, we talk about the fact that, back in 2019, we had an inventory of over 2,000. In actual fact, in the month of April, there were 2,025 sales. And yet in our market right now, there's only 913 in April. And so there has been a decrease of 55%. And yet what we are seeing is that there has been a huge surge of multiple offers and demand. And so even though sales are down, demand has not gone down. And so people are still buying and selling. And I truly believe that's probably because of two things. A, we've had a low inventory for a very long time. In addition to the fact that unfortunately COVID-19 hit us hard and it hit us fast. And so there are still people who sold their homes or bought in January and February and need to buy. There are people who have made the decision to sell and need to sell. And so what we are seeing right now is still people need to make those moves.
Yeah.
As a result of January and February and moving forward, we are still seeing residential sales as an ultimate high and condos as an ultimate high. And yet it's really important to, what we find is to educate yourself, because it was interesting. I was talking to a new home seller yesterday and he thought he needed to wait. And I caution people to say, if you're thinking of selling, I don't know if I would wait if you have somewhere to go. And so we are still dealing with that very low inventory as per what the Ottawa Real Estate Board deals with.
Let's talk a little bit. We only have 30 seconds before we're going to take a quick break, but let's dabble a little bit into the virtual world and how the real estate market is now online.
It is very much online. We are taking precautions, which we will talk about definitely in the next segment. But we have moved to Zoom and Skype for interviews. As to, I strongly always encourage people to interview their realtors and find the best match for them. We are doing virtual tours, which I'm doing one this afternoon, and we are moving towards the virtual world as everybody is, in the fact that we are taking the proper precautions in order to protect both our buyers and our sellers, because we all need to, and so we want to respect everybody's distancing.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation after we take a quick break. And of course, we'll real estate. We're talking to Colleen about this new world we're in right now when it comes to buying or selling a home in the time of a pandemic. There's all the information on your screen for how you can ask your questions of Colleen this morning live on the air. You can give us a call at 613-789-6559, extension 2803, or send us an email, ottawa.morning@ctv.ca. So, Colleen, good morning. It's great to have you here with us. Now, we do have an email that's come in from a viewer, and I think this is a really poignant question. This one has come in from Jennifer, and Jennifer is asking, since people can't actually come to the house to do visits, is staging really important? I think that's an excellent question. What is the answer to this one, Colleen?
I think it's a great question, and thank you, Jennifer. So that's a twofold question, actually. There are people who are buying sight unseen, and staging is always important because if you pick the right realtor, they are doing really good pictures. We are doing virtual tours, etc. So staging is definitely still very important. Yet, moving into the latter half of this question is the fact that we are still going into people's homes depending on their comfort level. And so we are taking special precautions in order to show homes during this time.
Let's talk about those, what that might look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are certain rules that all realtors are following now in regards to showing your home. And again, it depends on the seller's comfort level. Yet there are a lot of people, and let's be honest, a lot of people will not buy homes sight unseen unless they're investors or it's a model that you're absolutely familiar with. Like, let's say, a Mattamy Monarch home, and you just know the model. But we do have certain rules in play now as realtors that are there to protect the buyers, the sellers, the agents, everyone. And so the first rule is the fact that before you go into a showing, there are forms that you have to sign, legal forms that you have to sign that say that you have not been exposed to COVID, not only as an agent, but also my buyers. And so for my team, some agents are only asking the buyers, but I'm also asking the agents. So we just want to make sure of that. The other thing as well is when we do a showing, it's completely different than back in the day where you were supposed to turn on the lights and turn off the lights and leave a card. None of that is happening. So when we do show a home, we are carrying Lysol wipes or something of equivalent, and we are opening doors, and then we're not touching anything. So as a showing, we ask you to leave cupboard doors open, not necessarily kitchen doors, but leave all the lights on. And the agent is actually supposed to leave all the lights on when they leave. So nothing really is supposed to be touched. You're literally walking around with buyers, touching nothing, kind of like you're holding your hands to your chest and just walking through the home. So that's really important. The other thing, and respectfully, is the fact that no children now are allowed in homes, only the principal buyers. We all love our children so much, yet we don't want to expose them to this horrible COVID-19, as well as we know that children like to touch things. And so we're not allowing children in homes anymore. Lastly, as well as I mentioned, feature sheets, everything's gone virtual. So online signing for buyer agreements and potential input in regards to you wanting to put an offer. Offers are done virtually. There are no business cards left. And as well, there are no overlapping showings. Quite often during a market like this, we would see agents crossing each other on the front path. We are not allowing that. And so showings are only limited now to 30 minutes rather than the usual 1 hour. And we are 100% making sure that agents and buyers are not crossing paths when they are on a showing. So we're doing everything that we can to ensure that the sellers and the buyers are completely safe during this time.
All right. Colleen Lyle with Lyle Real Estate this morning on our Ask the Expert. So if you have any of our Ask the Expert here on CTV Morning Live, and we're talking to Colleen Lyle, Real Estate team, there's the information on your screen for how you can get a hold of Colleen if you have questions about buying or selling at this time. And we do have some more questions coming in from some of our viewers this morning. Thank you very much. And we're going to start with Mike in Chesterville. Colleen, Mike is asking us this morning, he wants to know what the market is like in some of the rural areas of Ottawa. Is a good time in the rural areas for sellers right now?
Thank you so much, Mike, for jumping in. The fact is that the market is still very hot wherever you are. I think it's more important of the fact that, as we touched before, we need to stage, we need to price properly. So if your home is priced well, the fact is that it will move. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a home in Wendover, so again, very rural, and it sold in one day. And so it's really important to have the right realtor, the right price, and show well. So thank you for that conversation, Mike, because I do think that you could still sell in this market 100%.
Okay, let's move into the finance conversation here, and that is with a question. We'll start that off from Cindy. She's in Pembroke, and she writes this morning, are employment letters still being accepted as pre-approvals, or do you need to provide a pay stub? Good question.
It's a great question. And I myself, Cindy, and thanks again for chiming in, Cindy. I'm not a mortgage broker, but I do believe that those conversations are still being had. And the fact that you can have proof of employment, it depends if you've had a previous conversation with your mortgage broker or if this is a new conversation. And so I strongly encourage everyone to have those conversations if they're considering move. I actually want them to have a conversation now. So kind of leeway into what I would like to is the fact that you really, really need, even if you're not considering buying or selling until November, October, later in the year, I really want you to have those conversations now. What we are hearing in the finance industry is the fact that there may be a conversation where right now your minimum down payment is 5%, and that's great, except that there are conversations with lenders and banks. They're asking the government to move it to 10%. And I understand why they are doing that, because they don't want people to have so much debt in their home. And so I understand that. But during COVID times, I don't know if I necessarily personally agree with that. So if you are really on the fence, if you're buying or selling, have that conversations, because if you have been approved for a 5%, you will be grandfathered, is my understanding right now. Again, these are premature and early conversations, but I do want the viewers to understand that it may move from 5% to 10%.
Colleen, you've said in the past too that when it comes to the financing, before you even start looking, get pre-approved so you know where you are financially, because the minute you find that home, your dream home, things can move quickly and you can lose it to someone else really quickly. So having all your financial elements in order are very important. Is that still the case?
It is absolutely the case, and thank you for bringing that up, Annette. I completely agree with you. We still need financing in order. And so the conversations I'm having right now, and we are still a very busy team, a very busy brokerage. We're having calls right now, and I need everyone to have their financing literally in order, because you may be looking for a $400,000 townhome, and for $5 more a month, you might be able to afford $450, and that could be the difference between an interior unit and an exterior unit. And so that's huge, in addition to the fact that we don't want you to be disappointed. We are still finding multiple offers throughout the city. We need you to know your limits. As I joke, but kind of not, I don't want anybody to be house poor or eating craft dinner on my watch. And someone got offended going, well, I eat craft dinner. I said, well, craft dinner and red wine, right? I want people to feel comfortable in their homes and not feel tight.
Right.
And so know the news. I know that some of the news in real estate can be very gray,
Yeah.
but that may be Vancouver and Toronto. I want our listeners and viewers to understand I need you to look at Ottawa news only,
Yeah.
because the Ottawa market has remained and still is remaining very resilient during this time.
That is a
And
really good
so
point. Yeah.
it is. And so when you hear about real estate news, focus on Ottawa. Do not focus on Toronto. Do not focus on Vancouver, because we are neither one of them. We are a great town, a
Yeah.
town that I'm very proud to be part of. And the fact that we have government and high tech in this town is a huge, huge kind of support in order to remain resilient even during the time of COVID.
All right, Colleen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much. And for anyone looking for
Thank you.
more questions of Colleen, you can certainly contact her. There's all the information on your screen.